In the name of the one, holy, and undivided Trinity. Amen. Such juicy readings. However, it is October, and we had a wonderful kickoff to our pledge campaign last week. And this is the season when we're thinking about pledging and the sometimes sticky relationship that money has with our spiritual lives. So I'd like to tell you a little story about how I've been moving through that sticky relationship in my own life. 15 years ago, I moved to Seattle for the first time. I was 20, attending college, and broke. I started attending St. Mark's, which is our cathedral on Capitol Hill. I both loved and resented the anonymity of belonging to a large congregation. On the one hand, at that point in my life, I really needed care. I just needed to be able to go someplace that didn't demand anything from me, where I could just show up and be fed. On the other hand, it was depressing to just be a number in a pew, to be greeted every Sunday like I had never been there before. After settling in for a year or so, I started picking out small ways that I could be more involved. I started attending Sunday morning and evening education opportunities when I could. I worked in the child care center in the basement, as they always are, in churches, on Sunday mornings and Wednesday evenings as one of my 3 jobs in college, supporting myself. Actually, the cold walk through a very silent Capitol Hill at 7 a.m. on Sunday mornings was one of my favorite times of the week to think and to meditate and to pray. It was my second or third year there when we hit, again, October and this conversation about pledging. And if you don't have experience with our cathedral, one of the things that's true about it is that there's people there with serious money. Big money, money. And when you have a culture with enough people with serious money, how the church operates changes. There was a lot of pay to play. Even the Wednesday night suppers had a fee that they called a suggested donation. And at that point in my life, a $5 dinner was a commitment, not a throwaway. And I had to bite my tongue a lot. So when the pledge campaign came around again, and they were talking about a budget in the millions, I thought about tossing it off like I had every year before. It wasn't for me, it wasn't about me. Other people were going to give thousands of dollars, and I was cooking at home every night, noodles, and taking the bus. But there was one night that I came home and I got my mail. I was flipping through it. And they used to have a paper newsletter that got sent out, the rubric. And I loved getting the newsletter, especially because it told me who was preaching on each Sunday, so I made sure to be there for my favorites. It told me where I could volunteer, what books we were reading together. There was often a meditation well worth reading from one of the clergy. And you know, you can also glean a little bit of gossip about what little turf wars are happening from the newsletter, so I also enjoyed that. You can learn a lot from the newsletter if you know where to look. In this particular one, there was another call out for pledges, explaining how pledges sustain the congregation and they allow us to build the budget and pay for all the giant, big, good things that happen at Cathedral. And I was sitting there in my house, noodle dinner. I found myself just flipping through those pieces of paper. And I realized that there was one small thing right in front of me that I could do. Every month, those pieces of paper had to be copied, and someone had to staple them. And maybe I couldn't pay for a new stained glass window, but I could pay for the staples. I could do that. For all those hundreds of pieces of paper, it might cost $10 a month to staple them and send them out. And I could do that. So my very first pledge to a church was to the cathedral for $10 a month. I think the next year I was a little bit more financially secure, and I pledged $12 a month. And every time the rubric came to my house, I smiled, because I did that. And then something very strange happened. I wasn't expecting this, but my relationship with the place changed. It wasn't the amount of money that did it, obviously, because there were people there giving literally 1,000 times more than I was. But when I would walk into the church, greeted or not, known or unknown, it was mine in a very different way. I'm not sure what that's about. I'm not sure what the mystery at the heart of pledging is. But I do know it changes the place and it changes us. It changed, too, my relationship with the offertory in the middle of the service, that it always felt very disjointed to me, the public shaking of the basket under your nose and your neighbors watching. It also sometimes felt like someone asking, "Did you like the sermon? Pay for it." But my hunch about that shift, and also about the offertory, is that both had something to do with the mystery of bodies that we honor here. Our money is an expression of our labor. It's an offering of some part of our work. It's time made concrete. In some ways, when I lift the bread at the table for communion, it's just an echo of what we have already done in the offertory with money. In the moment when the wine and the bread and the money come forward, what you are saying is, this is our body. This is hours of our life represented. It is sweat and thinking. It is earned. Take and eat. This is my time, cleaning houses, or adding numbers in a ledger, or sitting at a desk, or biting your tongue listening to your boss, who maybe shouldn't be in charge of anything. That's work. You send all those things forward, saying, this is our body, and I hold the bread back at you, echoing Christ, this is my body. And we share it all. We break the money up into smaller pieces and we feed each other. We break the bread up into smaller pieces and we feed each other so that all have enough. And in that way, we model to the world something very different too. We should feel the difference between being in this space where we all have enough because we share it, and the great inequities of the world we live in. Like Todd so beautifully said last week, pledging is about paying the bills and also not at all about paying the bills. Pledging is a spiritual discipline that changes how our bodies are in relationship to this community and this building, to this cloud of witnesses who are constantly learning and shaping each other and praying and stumbling and trying again, trying to speak a good word to the University District of Seattle in 2015 and beyond. And because it is difficult, I think, to have honesty about money, and this is saying a lot for the church, is that we're actually better at talking about sex than money, and that is saying a lot for the church. To be very transparent, this year we are going to reach for financial sustainability. We're going to set a stretch goal. And that means about 10% over what we raised last year, what you so generously gave and continue to give. And Aaron and I, despite having an increase in expenses in our household, are increasing our pledge by 10%. Because we believe in this place. We see healing and we see love here. We see the staples. We turn on the lights for 30 unhoused people who sleep in this building every night. We buy Advent candles to light our way out of a dark winter. We believe in the potential of Christ Church to speak this needed word of grace to the hurt and the poor, both in our pews and on our sidewalks. I invite you to pray this week and consider joining us. Again, I want to remind you that it's not the amount, it's about what it means. And for your prayerful consideration, for your love of this house, I thank you.